What's good with y'all boys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to chop it up about a clip that I seen from Anton Daniels, right? Let's play the clip.
I have been single for 12 and a half years. I'm very open about that on this page. I am a 28-year-old virgin. My singlehood, because it's ghetto sometimes, is in part due to my own choices and in part due to my circumstances. While I have experienced a lot of loneliness, yes, I have also experienced tremendous peace. However, the amount of loneliness that I've experienced and the moments of sadness and confusion and the questions that I have about why I'm still alone after all this time just hasn't quite made me desperate enough to accept what I don't want. One, because that's not beneficial to me. Two, because that is not fair or beneficial to the person that I would be settling for. On the other end, circumstance. Plenty. And I want to just make that clear. I know y'all might look at me and think, oh, 28, that's a hard 28, or you're ugly, or you're fat, or you're this. I've gotten plenty of it. You may look at me and see something that you don't like. You may not find me attractive. But there have been plenty of men in 12 and a half years to approach me with interest. So let's make it clear. It's not that I haven't had the opportunity. But those men, none of those men have been men that I, too, was interested in. And again, I don't believe that it is fair or beneficial or even kind to be with someone that I do not truly want to be with. That will hurt them in the long run. Now look, you tell people that you're a 28-year-old virgin, they think you're lying, they think you're asexual, they think all these things. I would very much love to experience romance and love and companionship. So I walked out the early years of my abstinence with the expectation that I would get married. Okay? Here I am at 28 and I am unmarried. Here I am at 28 with no prospects. There are good men out there. I know that. I've met them. There are some really awful men out there. Very scary, very creepy, very disrespectful. I've met them. Wanting something above here is not wrong. So just because I have met good men and didn't want to be with them doesn't make me the bad guy. I think that anything in life, whether a job, whether the kind of body that you want, the kind of home that you want, the kind of, experiences that you want to curate, I think you can have whatever you like. Ain't that what T.I. said?
You can't.
And so I don't understand why when men and women...
She said, ain't that what T.I. said?
have certain standards. I'm not talking about preferences. Must be light skin, must be dark skin, must be 6'5", must be 160. But I'm talking about standards. There is nothing wrong with having standards, and there's nothing wrong with being afraid that you may not get that. And there's nothing wrong with coming to the resolve that if you do not find someone who meets your standards, that you'd rather stay by yourself.
So, y'all just seen this woman basically go into detail about how she's scared for her future because she's a virgin at her big age, right? Now, if you were listening to what she was saying in the clip, she said, and the key point, she said people be calling her overweight, out of shape, fat, right? Now, I'm gonna get into it in this video. Here is why there is no compensating for not being on BodyGame. This goes for both men and women, right? So, a lot of people, men and women, seem to have this assumption or this presumption that if I do this certain thing, or I withhold this certain activity, that should boost my value in certain demographics, right? In this woman's case, she said, oh, one, the dudes that come after me, I'm not interested with. The dudes that I want aren't necessarily good for me. She's holding out because she basically wants something that's out of her league, put it that way, right? She wants to give it up to someone that's out of her league that she feels qualifies for her. However, the person that she feels qualifies for her, she doesn't qualify for, right? So you'll notice this if you've ever been in a church setting, right? A lot of people try to compensate for areas that they're lacking in with shit like virginity. I'm gonna just keep it a stack, right? You got chicks out here that are not on BodyGame, out of shape, overweight, got their V card, And because they got their V card, they think that entitles them to men that are of an upper class, of an upper echelon. Men that's on BodyGame, men with higher status, men that got their shit together, right? I'm going to just keep it a stack with you. We don't give a shit about the majority of that, right? I know there's some dudes out here that got a thing for chicks that still got their V card. Me personally, I'm not one of them. Whenever I dealt with a chick, I would actually prefer that she was not a holder of a V card, because I'm not trying to be your first one, because you already know that if you lay it down too good on a chick and that's her first time, you're going to deal with craziness. You're going to deal with, you personally ain't going to deal with soul ties, but she's going to feel soul tied to you. And if you lay it down right, you just unlocking Pandora's box. She's basically going to think that y'all married, right? Without the ceremony. So I was actively always trying to avoid chicks that still had their V card. If a chick told me that she had her V card, I was like, I'm cool off you. Spin the block when you got some experience under your belt, right? But aside from that, dudes don't really give a shit about chicks bringing a V card to their table. Unless the dude is trying to get, like, he's trying to be serious with a chick, actually start a family, and most of that, which is what she's after in this case, most dudes not giving a shit, right? Now, this also extends to dudes as well. I see a lot of dudes trying to use religion as cope as to the reason why they can't, or that's the reason why they're not dealing with chicks, right? Dudes will be like, oh, I am not dealing with chicks because I am a man of God, and I'm not going to engage in adultery, this and that. Okay, cool. That's all fair and dandy. However, you a man of God, but you fat as shit. You a man of God, but you can't see your dick. You a man of God, but you break one of the commandments, which says do not engage in gluttony, and that's all that you're doing. You're being gluttonous on a daily basis. 4,000 calories plus intake on a regular, right? Everyone following the 10 commandments until they have an issue with a commandment that they don't like, right? So this chick got her V card still, and now she panicking because she held on to that shit for too long. She got no experience under her belt. And while I do agree, there are benefits to keeping your V card, especially in this day and age, because I'm not going to sit here and cap. I would rather hold my V card and not have to worry about herpes, not having to worry about STDs, HIV, AIDS, any of that shit. I would much rather hold my V card and not have to worry about that shit than be out here taking cheeks, being, in her case, being out here throwing it back and ending up with some shit that you absolutely do not want. So there are benefits to that, right? But at the same time, you cannot use that as cope to try to get or explain your way out of your current situation as to why you're not getting what you want. If this chick was on BodyGame and she was in a gym and she was in pristine shape, she would have been already had a dude that's trying to take her serious slide her way, right? You cannot compensate for areas that you're lacking with by holding up and being like, hey, look at me. I still have my V card. You still have your V card, but you're fat as shit. Nobody give a fuck. There's chicks out here that don't got their V card that are bad as shit that will absolutely mog her in every single scenario when it comes to pulling dudes. There are chicks out here that are single moms that will absolutely mog her when it comes to pulling dudes, right? When it gets to that level, you need to take a look in the mirror and be like, is it really the dude's fault for not wanting to get with me because I'm trying to be serious, or is it my fault that I'm just not in shape and I'm not desired by what I want? Like I said, when it comes to dudes, if you've ever been in a church setting, especially now, I used to be in a church setting a couple years back. I looked around, not one motherfucker in that bitch was on BodyGame. The pastor's in the pulpit simping his ass off, telling bitches and the niggas in the congregation sweet comforting lies, basically telling them enough so that the paychecks and the tithe plates keep coming in. When I finally realized, I was like, yo, this dude isn't up here in the pulpit spitting that real shit. He's up in here spitting that simp shit. Nobody around me's on BodyGame. I said, I don't need to be here, right? Because honestly, I was on BodyGame, and I'll tell you right here and now, them chicks in the church, they be going. Ain't nobody going to be going faster for a nigga that's on BodyGame than a chick that's in the church, right? Because the chicks in the church, you got to understand, before they was in the church, they're also in the world. So them being in the church, their dual mating strategy is to sell these niggas inside the church of dream while getting their back cracked by dudes that's on the outside. Keep it a stack, because the chicks that's in the church, obviously they see the dudes in there aren't on body game, so by automatic they're looking at all the dudes in there as simps and as backup options. So every time a dude that still has his V card tells me, oh man, I'm waiting till marriage, I'm like, okay, cool, respectable, but are you waiting until marriage to get on body game as well? Because right now you're skinny fat or you're out of shape, and it looks to me like you're using the I'm waiting till marriage shit as cope. I don't know a single dude that's out of shape, fat, not on body game, going out here saying that, oh, I'm a virgin, I'm waiting till marriage. That's being actively pursued by chicks. The only person I can think of would be Lily Phillips. She's probably the only, no, not Lily, well, her too, Bonnie Blue. Gonna look at you like, yo, I'm absolutely sucking by the virginity out of this dude. That's really the only chick I can think of, right? Outside of that, using religion as cope to hide or excuse the fact, or using moral high ground to try and hide and excuse the fact or the reason of why you're not on body game and not taking your health serious, that shit is a flop, especially in 2025, right? It's a free market out here. Nobody give a shit if you're inexperienced. You actually get points docked off for being inexperienced, because motherfuckers is not trying to lead you down the path of experience for the first time. They're trying to get it on, get it cracking, and getting jiggy with it. So, like I said, there's dudes and there's females out here that will try to compensate for not doing what the fuck they should be doing, being on body game, by holding shit as, oh, I'm waiting until marriage. Oh, I need to find the right one. Oh, I'm keeping my peace. Yes, all of that is cool and dandy, but at the end of the day, you're still going to run into the same issues that you're going to run into. Because guess what? In the instance that a dude that's not on body game gets married, the chick's going to be like, okay, I was your first, yeah, but you were my what? 11th, 10th, 12th? And now that I've got the resources down and you ain't got no experience under your belt, you're going to be the simp while I'm going to step out with the dude that's on body game. And the marriage was failed from the start. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for everyone, but unfortunately, it does happen quite often. So that's it for the video, gang. I'm up out of here. There is no compensating for not being on body game. Peace.